What's up guys? Welcome to week 3 of my Apoctober videos. If you're just joining us, I'll throw the links to the first 2 videos down in the description so you guys can catch up with the lore and my previous designs. We're not going to waste any time today, let's dive right into the lore and my process for the past 7 Apoctober designs from the last week. Enjoy! The hardest part about studying the ways of these elder gods is resisting the madness that consumes you as you learn more. Many of the hunter's hope have been lost to the mind-crushing power of the ancient scriptures, and defected in favor of the cults and sects that worship the harbingers of the apocalypse. Their transformation is not only mental, oftentimes their physical forms will become twisted as well. The higher in power you rise in the ranks of these cults, the less and less you resemble a human. One of the highest and most dangerous titles to achieve is that of Moon Watcher. In this form, the follower will take on the role of seer for the cult, reading the skies and stars for prophetic signs from their gods. While they appear frail and vulnerable, take caution when approaching these creatures. They are more than capable of dispatching any foe unprepared for the strength that their gods have given them. I had so many ideas for cultists, but a lot of them were kind of lame or cliche. The nice thing about having daily prompts like this is that it forces you to create things on the spot without overthinking it. For me, this often leads to like my mark making, designing the character for me, and I sort of scratched out confused lines and a design began to take form. What I knew I wanted to keep in that design was this pose and that kind of religious composition with like a staff or a scepter, and then the hand up like this, common imagery in like Christian Catholic imagery. It ended up the staff that the character was holding ended up being more of a scythe, which looks cool compositionally, but I'm not sure if I would keep that in the final design. All of these illustrations are kind of jumping off points for more finished designs that I'll explore further as I spend more time with this project. Gaddis visited me again tonight. I mean, I see her all the time, but tonight was different. She appeared in my bedroom. Not outside my window or in the very corner of my eye. She was standing right in front of me. She looked wet. Well, wetter than usual, I guess. In fact, from what I could see, it looked like there was water spilling out from underneath her filthy, torn robes. Oh, she smelled horrible, as usual, but something about her face made me feel safe? For the first time since she started following me, I realized that her intention was never to hurt me. She didn't say anything, she just outstretched a pale, dripping hand with what looked like a small seashell resting in its palm. I took it, and she disappeared. I'll have to ask the Hunter's Hope Club what they think it is tomorrow. Right now, I gotta figure out how to get all this black seawater out of my carpet. The Deep Dark is a name that has been referenced in much of the ancient texts that we've uncovered at various cult worship sites. For years we assumed it was more of a symbolic term, but now we know that it refers to an actual geologic location. At least, the gateway to the Deep Dark exists physically in our world. The realm itself is beyond our comprehension and far too dangerous to even consider exploring at this point. We know how to get there, though. Celeste has provided us a map to its exact location, and what's more, she's obtained a key. How she came upon it, we do not know. We've been searching for this artifact for decades. She's keeping something from us. The council will discuss the possibility of interrogation. I think my greatest fear is things that I don't understand. As a kid, this fear manifested kind of like in the form of dark corners or deep water, things that obscured my comprehension of the world. Deep, dark water was a common theme in a lot of my nightmares too. Even now, still, I get nightmares with this kind of stuff. Dark water and then the things that live in the water that the darkness hides. It's funny because I really love so many of the creatures that live in the ocean. They're fascinating to me and I always want to know more, but something about dangling my toes above a bottomless pit of black water really freaks me out. So it's not really because of the things that I know are down there. It's more about the things that I'll never know exist. And, I don't want a crabby to pinch my toes. Their vision is our fear. To see the world as they do, we must induce our deepest and innermost horrors. This thing, if you put it on, it's like being suffocated by terror. I thought it would be like a lens. You put it on and things look scary. It's like nothing I can describe. You forget about reality. You forget about yourself. I thought I knew what my greatest fears were. I didn't even know the meaning of the word. Why did the Council of the Hunters' Hope Club make me wear this awful thing? One of the first and oldest eldritch artifacts the Hunters' Hope Club has secured is the Vision of the First, an ancient mask that was once believed to be nothing more than a ceremonial adornment worn by high priests during ritualistic sacrifices. We've now come to learn that the mask possesses powers not unlike those of the Widow's Visage, capable of twisting the wearer's perception of reality into an exaggerated vision of their own worst nightmares. For a while, we sought to use it as a tool to uncover more about the Ancient Ones and their intentions in our realm, but our hunters subjected to its power quickly went mad or were completely destroyed by the thing. Now we only use it on the rarest of occasions, when traditional methods of interrogation fail to produce appropriate results. I love designing masks. I think I've talked about this before on this channel. I can't remember when, but anyway, I love masks. The world I'm establishing with my designs leaves a lot of room for improvisation with things like masks, so this was another one where I kind of just let my mark making design it for me. My goal was to create something that at first looked cool, but the longer that you look at it, the creepier it gets. I think the coolest thing about masks is how interpretive they can be. The first time you look at it, you see one thing, and then the next moment you get an entirely different read of it. If I spent more time on this, I would add more intricacies so that there could be several ways to see the design while remaining, still ambiguous and cultish looking. Day 3 of the infestation. It's getting hard to conceal their presence now. They came from underneath the church. Well, I guess I don't really know where they came from, but that's where they're coming from. The Hunters' Hope Club has members stationed at the 4 known exits we've been seeing the things come out of, but their numbers aren't diminishing. They just keep coming, more and more every day. The worst part isn't the ravenous hunger or their violent tendencies. It's when they die. They make this noise, this horrible noise. At first, it sounded like glass splintering, then it sounded like air being let out of a tire, and then it was a scream. A human scream. These things weren't always like this. The symptoms of the transformation are subtle at first. It starts with increased hunger and insatiability. Nothing will satisfy you, no matter how much you eat. Mental degeneration follows, most likely brought on by the intensity of the desire to consume. Then the physical mutations: elongated limbs, double-jointedness, and brittle bones. The more that the subject can consume, the faster the transformation will occur. The parasite that causes the disease spreads through fecal matter. Thus, the infestation often begins in places like sewers or impoverished parts of the city. The only way to stop it is to completely cut off the swarm long enough to starve them to the point of cannibalism, and burn what remains. So, when I was drawing this one, I was actually staying at my parents' house and sleeping in their living room. In the autumn and winter, they get these cat-sized crickets in their house. They sound like a truck backing up when they chirp, and it was really all I could think about when I was thinking about the prompt swarm. Most bugs don't freak me out. In fact, I find the majority of creepy crawlies very interesting and sometimes even cute, but I hate crickets, I hate wettas, katydids, all those gross hoppers. Imagining like a horde of zombie man bugs was like the most grotesque and creepy thing that I could imagine for this prompt. The Hunter's Hope is finally giving me a chance to show off my skills as an engineer. The regular guns work on most of the creatures that we encounter, but more often than not, we find ourselves in need of some heavy artillery. Fortunately, I've designed something that can hit hard while still remaining lightweight and portable. Grandma calls it Bunny Foo Foo. She told me it's the most appropriate name for a gun that doesn't weigh more than a rabbit. Juno has assured us that Celeste is worth the effort and time to train in the ways of the Hunter's Hope Club. So far, her interactions with the portal beast have yielded interesting results, but her emotional responses to these events are troubling. She's too trusting and weak of mind. Granted, her technical skills are impressive, and her abilities as an engineer have been proven time and time again. But would she succumb to the whims of the elder gods and betray the club and our purpose? Time will tell, but the council is wary. I want to try and force myself to do more mechanical designs. So far this month, my creations have been mostly organic, or else ethereal and ghostly, but, still on the lifelike side. The time period I'm setting this story in leaves plenty of room for fantasy, steampunk, gadgets and weapons and machines. I'm not sure how crazy I want the technology in this world to be, but this illustration is kind of a taste of the other side of the battle with the portal beasts, and it gives a little bit more characterization to Celeste. I'm writing now because I want to remember what I saw in the morning. Otherwise, I'd be convinced it was all a dream. Something woke me up. At first, I thought it was the steam from the radiator, but it kept sputtering and whistling in consistent intervals. It was almost as if the noise was keeping time with some giant metronome. Then I heard this soft clinking. It was like bricks being tapped against a stone. At this point, I was up from my bed and I looked out the window. I didn't see anything at first, and then it moved. It must have been 30 feet tall, and it strode through the city without making almost any sound. Then I noticed more, dotting the skyline and peering over buildings. Their heads rotated, and they shone the soft blue light down onto the street. But as the clouds covered the moon, they vanished. Now I'm not sure if I saw anything at all. The smog striders have not been seen in Providence for centuries. Their first appearance was recorded back in 1701, when the founders of the Hunter's Hope Club was visited in her sleep by a prophet of the ancient gods, warning her of the impending apocalypse. This context for their presence led us to believe that they only appear when a mortal of significance is chosen to be bestowed with hidden knowledge. But the mortal that saw them was Celeste, and she was given no prophetic insight. What could this mean? Further investigation is required. Okay, so it wasn't really a dream, but the night before I drew this, I heard a very strange sound as I was falling asleep. I still don't know what it was, but as I fell asleep, I imagined these bizarre, impossibly tall creatures with giant blue eyes. They whistled like steam engines, because that's the sound that I heard, and they were completely obscured by darkness and the fog. Anyway, the next morning, I woke up and I was like, I gotta draw those things for one of the prompts. Which one's gonna work? And sure enough, that day's prompt was dream. So yes, I didn't really see them in a dream, but it's close enough for me to turn that prompt into an excuse to draw those things. I felt weird today. It started with a headache, but it wouldn't go away. Everything's cloudy. Everything seems wrong. Things I've never even considered before are starting to bother me. Why am I being pulled into the center of this planet? Why do I keep gasping in this toxic air? I was sent here for a purpose. Why can't I remember what it is? I shouldn't feel pain. Why does my head hurt? Why do my feet hurt? I have feet? When did I get those? How long have I been walking? Where am I? Celeste. Where's Celeste? If you find this Celeste, help me. Sorry for writing in your journal. Only 3 among our order have ever achieved ultimate enlightenment. It's a horrible thing to witness, but before their existence is completely obliterated from our universe, they leave behind vital clues about the realms of the ancient gods. 2 of the 3 bestowed with the ultimate enlightenment achieved it willingly through their own means. But the third was a mystery. Stranger still, she left behind no remnants of her transformation, nothing like the first 2. Now another member is starting to exhibit symptoms. Bonnie, the kid that Celeste had introduced to the club, has been feeling strange. Now it seems that they've disappeared. The Council has other theories, but signs point to another ultimate enlightenment. We just need to find them before it happens, lest we risk another loss of information. This design started with the idea that I wanted to use white to create the solid silhouettes that I've been using, with black overlaid, kind of like an X-ray, because inside. The idea of some internal change that was more symbolic than physical was at first appealing to me, but I couldn't help myself from including some bits that burst through the white silhouette in addition to the eye that's breaking through the skull. If I was going to spend more time with this one, I think I'd focus more on the skull part, though. I think that deserves more exploration. So there it is, guys. Week 3 of Apoctober. Let me know which one was your favorite. And as always, I want to wrap up today's video with a showcase of some of my favorite illustrations that you guys did this week. You guys are awesome. It's so fun to see all the different ideas that people come up with these prompts. Keep up the amazing work, stay spooky, and I will see you all in the next video.